You're listening to Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall. Hey friends, Dan Duvall here to tell you about three things. Number one, danduvall.com. This is the home of the Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall podcast. You can connect. You can become a podcast patron, meaning you give us a few bucks and you get a few benefits. You can also support us with merch by buying cool stuff like t-shirts, and sandals, bags, mugs, and the like, with really cool slogans and hip designs. Number two, you can check out overcomeraccelerated.com. This is our resource for supporting the healing journey. If you happen to be a survivor looking for more freedom and faster, this is the place you've been looking for. Overcomer Accelerated allows you to get live ministry demonstration with yours truly, a community of other survivors taking an accelerated healing journey, access to over 100 hours of coursework so that you are informed, educated, and understanding not only ministry processes, but deep things about the kingdom of God, spirituality, keys that will unlock an accelerated journey with Jesus Christ to the end goal, which is healing and deliverance. And you can even get discounted coaching depending on how you sign up. Number three, bridemovement.com. This is the ministry site. And if you have not connected with us through the ministry and you've just been listening to this podcast, I want to encourage you to check out the ministry as well, bridemovement.com. So much there, and I'm not going to take the time to explain it here. God bless. Those were your announcements. Hey friends, Dan Duvall here on a solo podcast to talk about some big changes that are happening in the Bride Ministries world. Now, for many of you that have followed this podcast for years, you know that this podcast actually began as an outreach of Bride Ministries. And it was more recently, just last year, really, that we made a major transition. And when we relaunched this podcast, we launched it independent of the Bride Ministries platform. Nonetheless, I'm going to be talking today about the Bride Ministries platform because, for those of you that follow this podcast and also follow the church, you've learned about some major changes that are coming in that world. And for those of you that follow this podcast and maybe you don't plug into the church, but you do take advantage of some of the other ministry outreaches that have been made available, this affects you as well. As this podcast has grown, one of the big efforts of Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall has been to raise awareness regarding the world of satanic ritual abuse and government-sponsored mind control agendas. And in doing that, we haven't just talked about theories and ideas. We've interviewed eyewitnesses, people that have been through the things that we are exposing and have firsthand eyewitness accounts and are willing to talk about it. We have been having people on this podcast for years, not only to talk about it from the standpoint of what they witnessed, but also to talk about different aspects of the healing journey. Many of them have taken healing journeys, not just with me personally, but some of them with others that I've trained or that have been part of this platform over the years. And so what's happening at Bride Ministries is that we are actually undergoing a major transition in the coach community and coach outreach. That is how we are ministering to people that are on healing journeys from satanic ritual abuse and government-sponsored mind control backgrounds. And I'm going to take today's podcast to talk through that transition a little bit and to catch everybody up on that reality, whether you have been tracking with that transition at the Bride Ministries Church, or if this is the first time you're hearing about it. That way we can bring the entire Bride Ministries and Dan Duvall influence space into the same understanding. And so the goal of coaching at Bride Ministries has always been to serve the needs of survivors of satanic ritual abuse and government-sponsored mind control projects with strategic assistance, primarily through prayer coaching centered on the finished work of Jesus Christ. And we don't call what we do counseling because it's not counseling, it's not psychotherapy, it's not professional psychological services. It is prayer coaching. Uh, and it is that because we cast out devils and we use the power of the name of Jesus and we center our work on what Jesus has done and who he is. We engage with angels. We do all kinds of things that, frankly, you could never call counseling work in a proper sense because it's entirely based on things going on in the spirit world, and the fruit is changed lives and radical transitions because that's what Jesus does. And friends, as we have pursued a Christ-centered approach to helping people from trauma backgrounds. Bride Ministries has gone through a number of iterations of attempts at how to make this happen, how to actually pursue this reality. And some of you may not even be aware of all the different iterations we've been through. And so for those of you that are newer to the platform, I'm going to walk you through a bit of history you might find interesting. You know, back in 2012, that's when Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall actually launched. It's crazy to think that this podcast is actually now officially going to go into its 12th year. I'm still trying to figure out how that even happened. But, you know, when we launched this podcast in 2012, we had a couple hundred listeners. It was not widely received well or even like, you know, that popular at all. And it was just an act of faith, you know. But it was in 2013 that I personally started working with the first survivor of government-sponsored mind control that I had the privilege of working with. And through a series of events, we ended up relaunching everything with Bride Ministries in 2015, at which point I decided this platform is not just going to be about exposing the works of darkness, it's also going to be about creating a vehicle by which people can be helped that need it. And so we developed a plan in 2015 to basically use some of the ministry funds that were being raised to finance healing journeys for survivors. In order to do that, we had connected with a couple of people. One of them was a mentor of mine, Dr. Preston Bailey, and another one. We began basically using monies donated to the organization to pay for work to be done with survivors that were applying to our Bride Ministries for help, saying, "Look, I would like to take a healing journey. I just can't afford one." And we tried to be that, you know, in stand in the gap intercessory organization in a sense. You know, we're just going to say we're going to believe God for the resources for the healing journeys of people that just do not have them. And we felt really good about that. I felt really good about that. When we first launched that effort, we actually issued scholarships with no time limits. So anybody that came into the organization, we just basically gave a pass. We're like, look, we will help you until you are finished with your healing journey. Little did we know that would backfire. And we hit a certain critical mass where we were helping a number of people and paying all of these fees. There was not fruit that was good. In fact, everything kind of imploded in a lot of hurt feelings, especially when support of the ministry dropped due to public slander and all kinds of drama that we wound up walking in back in 2016. And so that whole system kind of came to a crashing, burning end. And when things were balanced out again and we regained a stride, we launched a different approach to helping survivors. And part of what I am saying this for is to illustrate that as any work grows, there are many juncture points at which strategies change, at which a system of trying to achieve a goal is identified as having certain flaws, and steps have to be taken to make appropriate changes, transitions, cuts, application of different logic in order to scale growth past a certain point. Well, um, indefinite scholarships was unscalable because money just didn't continue to multiply like I had, hoped in my vain imaginations. So what ended up happening instead is we took a different wisdom from the Lord and we started putting time limits on scholarship contracts, which is when we were able to say, look, we're going to give you people eight sessions, 16 hours with qualified individuals that have applied and we vetted, and we're going to serve survivors as funds are available. And so we'd have so much come in. We know that we had the budget to fund the entire scholarship, and then we'd issue it. And that was very healthy. We actually ran that system for a number of years. And over those years, we contracted different people at Bride Ministries. And I'm going to leave most of these names out of it. But over those years, as we were contracting different individuals, one of the things that what I noticed is there was a lack of consistency because everybody that we contract came from different backgrounds, as in different denominational camps, different theological camps, and there was a general agreement, like we all agree that there are survivors and demons and technologies involved, and there are targeted individuals and Nephilim, and there were certain things. There were other things that were more of a non-issue, sideline items. But as far as training and ministry approach and ethic, well, those things varied wildly between individuals in some cases. And what happened was there was a lot of inconsistency. So people would come to Bride Ministries and they say, I need help. And we'd say, well, we'll help you, work with this person or work with that person. And those experiences varied wildly. And there was no way for us at the time to really govern because we were not in the business of training or retraining or having any kind of formalized approach to helping survivors that was in-house. And so having identified that during the years of 2017 to 2020, we built out what we call the Bride Ministries Institute. As I recorded a lot of courses, 10 initially, and those courses ranged from understanding the foundations of grace and what it means to be in Christ, all the way into inner healing ministry and ministry to the human spirit, advanced deliverance, and understanding realms and dimensions. Well, that became the foundation for what ultimately we called this DID mentorship training program, where we began to train people to use prayer coaching the way I do in order to help survivors. And that led to the release of the first basically group of what we call trained and selected coaches in 2021. That was when we made another massive transition. And the major transition that happens from 2020 to 2021 is the ministry moves away from working with affiliate coaches that have basically just applied because they have demonstrated some ability or success to help survivors, and moving to working and promoting and endorsing individuals that have been trained within the ministry. And that brought a lot of benefits, including a change in the way that we handled how we were serving scholarship clients at the ministry, where before we were simply raising money and paying a lot out, and it was just like a line item every month for the ministry. Now, what we did was we said, look, all of you guys that have been trained, we're going to have you volunteer as at the ministry, and you will be independent business owners, right? And so your independent business is to coach individuals with prayer coaching, but your service to the church is to serve with a commitment to so many hours. And so those volunteer hours were the hours that were allocated to scholarship clients. When we made that transition, we helped more people in 1 year than we had helped in multiple years leading up to 2021 combined. It was the biggest success year as far as individuals helped. And in 2022 and in 2023, we simply multiplied. Like it just went from glory to glory. Like, we're helping more and more people each year, and serving those that cannot afford to get the prayer coaching and the support and the help that they need. And we at Bride Ministries were super duper proud of that. However, as we went through 2023, we realized that the model was breaking again. And it was breaking on a couple of issues. And I'm going to kind of talk through a few of those on this podcast from the most positive standpoint possible. and and why are we doing this? Because I want you guys that have followed this to understand several things. Number one, our heart is to help people and to do things with excellence. But number two, we're a growing body. Like I went after this idea that we're going to help people that are literally um, disenfranchised by the body of Christ. We're going to go after helping people on a scale that really hasn't been demonstrated. We're going to have to trust the Lord for the tools and the concepts and the training so to even execute this on a large scale, to train the army of individuals that God has called to this work. We're going to trust God for every step of the process and also the structures and the systems in order to organize the work. And the way that it works out is you give your yes, and then God to take everybody through a process. What that means is where you start is not where you finish, and there are many course corrects along the way, and that's exactly what's happening now as we move into 2024. Is a course correct based on growth and future growth, the need for scalability that is not achievable under current circumstances. So, with that said, we began to identify some issues, and they exist primarily within two categories, and that would be administrative and cultural. Administrative and cultural, and what that basically boils down to is a lack of scalability. And what that means is as we move from helping tens and maybe even, closer to like hundreds of people to get to helping thousands of people, we need better systems. So some of the administrative challenges that we began to identify with the way that we were doing things. And this affected both the coaches that were working with us, our trained and selected coaches, as well as the clients that were being served by them. Number one, the coach relationship to the ministry was as an independent business owner, but the church spent administrative resources on the fact that we were making coaches available to those that found Bride Ministries, which was an administrative fiasco. Also, the support was lacking because as the ministry, we did not offer support in finding a coach. So when people found Bride Ministries, they'd go to a coach page, they just see faces, and it's like, well, you can apply for a scholarship and we'll assign someone to you if you cannot afford it. But if you can, we're not even doing scholarships, right? So you could just find somebody and book. But it's like, well, how? Who should I go? And so people would have to click through several faces, several profiles, and do their homework. And for some people, that was just very, undesirable. It's like, they just kind of give up because it's like, I just don't know how to make the right decision here. We get it, and if there were ever any issues, like, we had some folks, that came back to us and like, well, can we get some support from Bride Ministries when, certain things are going one way or the other? And we'd be like, no, you just got to deal with that with your coach because we don't have that relationship to our coaches. We're not governing their practice in that way. They're volunteering for us. We've released them completely. And so the administrative challenges were simply an open uh, it was an open problem, and it was just based on the system we had chosen and the way that we had set things up, it was unavoidable. Now when it came to some of the cultural problems that also related to the way that the coaches were set up relative to the church, as coaches were not employees of the church, they were not contractors of the church. There was really no financial relationship between the coaches and Bride Ministries at all. After 2021, it was a volunteer relationship. And so what happened with that was there was some confusion because all of the coaches that we released, many of them were perceived by those that came to Bride Ministries as ministry leaders, right? Because it's like, well, these people are the ones that Bride Ministries and Dan Duvall, they're endorsing, they're putting on their website. I see their faces. They know how to pray for people and how to get results. They're using Dan Duvall's prayers. They're, they went through a mentorship program. So they're probably ministry leaders by virtue of their position. Um, and really, I mean, we're all leaders in one way or another, but that's not the relationship that was actually in place. And so there was confusion there, and it was unavoidable confusion. It's not like this is anyone's fault other than the system. I mean, it's just the arrangement. It kind of created some cultural conflicts. And uh, 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 in that arrangement as well, because there weren't a lot of resources that we were pushing in that direction as far as administrative resources or pastoral resources that we didn't have a lot of support spiritually as a church to offer our coaches to weather the difficult terrain of this ministry field. Because, I mean, let me tell you guys, standing up Bride Ministries over the years has been beyond difficult. And oftentimes we have been working with bare bones resources. For many years, everything that happened at Bride Ministries was done by 3 to 4 individuals, me, my wife, and 1 or 2 employees at any given time for many, many years until more recently. And so where was the capacity and the bandwidth to offer robust spiritual support and all kinds of accountability systems? And it just wasn't there. And we were doing the best with what we had. So what happens is, there's this isolation that begins to set in, you know, uh, 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 coaches don't feel connected. It was a bit problematic, and over time, as time goes on, we saw that the problems became more and more significant. And so we weren't really doing our coaches the giving them what they deserved as an organization. We weren't being able to deliver on client service the way that clients deserved. There was a lot of holes, and we were doing the best with what we had available to us. And while there are other, cultural issues we could talk about, the fact of the matter is that there were some things that were clearly needing to be buttoned up. And we, for a long time, did not have the strength to do it until more recently. And as we went through 2023, what became more and more clear was that we were stepping into a new season, a new beginning, and there was strength to do something that would revolutionize the way that we offer coaching services and bring it to a world-class level. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. It's like, yeah, there was problems here, there was problems there. I'm not blaming any single person, even myself. But what I am saying is we are committed to excellence, and every person that comes to Jesus to be healed, whether they have resources or not, deserves a world class experience and treatment, deserves client care. Every person that stands on the front lines, says, puts their hand up and says, I will serve in the army of the Lord, deserves covering, administrative support, pastoral support, accountability systems, empowerment with resources to maintain excellence in ministry over the long term. And for that reason, we decided, look, here are our future goals. We see that there's good things happening. But as we move into the future, we're going to build a community of coaches that see themselves as part of Bride Ministries. That they are working in the house as one heart, united in service and mindset and under a banner as an army on the same page, a community of coaches that serve with honor and excellence in ministry ethic and practice, that is managed through accountability, supervision, administration, and spiritual support, that are highly enthusiastic and positive, honoring and valuing service and excellence and camaraderie. And we are going to serve people with the highest caliber of customer service, responsiveness, attentiveness to needs, and through vehicles that are top notch, right? We're going to actually move away from using substandard tools, as in, free accounts and unsecure lines. We're going to move right into HIPAA compliant technologies. Why? Not because prayer coaching has any kind of requirements to do that, but because we want to be the absolute best and deliver at the absolute highest levels. So, revolutionizing the experience for both coaches and clients and people that are coming looking for help. And so this is what we decided to do. We decided to get away from the entire arrangement that we were working with, where we were, training people and then giving them independent business privileges and saying, look, you just run your thing over there, you volunteer for the church, very little oversight. We don't have the resources to do it anyway. Hopefully this works out long term, but maybe it won't. And we decided, nope, we as a church, the Bride Ministries Church, created an S Corp. It's basically a church-owned company that is going to run the coaching outreach of Bride Ministries. So we are bringing everything in-house into a centralized governance structure that's going to allow us to deliver everything that we want our coaches to have and everything we want our clients to have with the systems to do it and the staffing and the people to make it happen. And so what this means is that as we are moving into a church-owned company to manage all of the coaches that serve those of you that are looking for that healing experience with Jesus Christ, we're able to offer centralized in-house administrative support to everyone engaging with our coaches, which means if there's anything that goes wrong, there will be someone else to contact that can step in and help. If there's ever a refund needed, there's no need to go directly to the coach anymore, which, for those of you that have tracked with us a long time, that's how it worked. It's like you had your coach. If you missed a session, you need a refund or whatever. Hey, I need this. You write them an email, like where all of that is going to be handled by an administrative system in place. We're going to be upgrading the way our coaches serve their clients with HIPAA compliant web conferencing software, emails, everything. Like the whole in-house infrastructure is being upgraded to that top level of security. Why? Because you know what? I know that many of you out there, like, we like knowing that we have secure communications and, using Skype and Zoom accounts and all this stuff. We're working with tools that are available, but Bride Ministries, we are going for world-class services, which means we're going to just go with the best. We're going to do the best, the highest level of delivery, just because you matter. And by putting everything in a coaching company, we can now make the investments because it just, it's pay to play, right? You want to use world-class tools and resources and deliver at the highest levels. Like it's not free. It actually costs, which is why we're doing it a new way. We're going to be adding a client concierge. And this is one of the coolest things about our transition to a company is, one of the places where the scaling broke is as we're training more and more people, and we will over the years. Well, if all of these people are being accumulated to the same site with no management every year, folks would go to, coach.bridemovement.com or brideministriescoaching.com. It's the same place. And you land on this website, you just see a bunch of faces staring back at you. Well, when you go from, 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, and you're just clicking through profiles, how do you pick the right coach? Eventually we would practically have to turn that whole page into just like one of those, dating apps. It's like swipe left, swipe left, swipe left, because, and that's a joke, but it's like you have so many faces. How do you make the right choice? Who's your match? Well, we're stepping in at this point because for scalability, we're going to help you find your match. And we're going to do that because our concierge will actually get on the phone with you. You book a call, talk to somebody that knows these people and say, hey, this is where I'm coming from. And they're going to say, hey, I think you're going to be a great fit with this person. And if you're not, send me an email and we'll see if we can get you hooked up with this person. So you're going to have all the help you need to make the right decision to get in and start getting the help that you need from Jesus through qualified ministers. Another thing that moving to this coach company is going to do is the ministry is taking a completely different approach, and we are looking at our coaches as the ministers that they are, which means we are going to be extending ministry licensing to all of the coaches that serve at Bride Ministries Coaching. So they will all be licensed ministers by the church. And the reason why we're taking that next step as well is because we just feel like if the church does not believe in the prayer ministry of these people enough to give them a ministry license, where we're not doing anyone a service by putting them in front of you. And by demonstrating our confidence and trust, we believe that we're also building that foundation of camaraderie and unity within our coach community, where they know that this is a place where they are respected, they are trusted, they are loved. And it's not a one-way buy-in where we're asking our coaches to, hey, support the House of Bride Ministries, but where our coaches know the House of Bride Ministries supports them. And we believe that culture is going to translate into better service to those that we are serving as well. More unity, more camaraderie. And we're just very excited about this also being part of the transition to the next phase. And so in addition to that, we're going to be giving all of our coaches actual pastoral support and expanded accountability structures within the coach company that we believe is going to help and empower them to minister at a place of excellence consistently year in and year out. And it's going to provide Bride Ministries with, a positioning to be the best place you will find anywhere to take a healing journey from satanic ritual abuse and government-sponsored mind control. And we're very excited. I'm very excited because my heart is to see that God's agenda for survivors is achieved. Healing, deliverance, total redemption, not only of individual lives, but whole families and bloodlines. That the people that are serving are around for the long haul, and that the people that are serving have every resource available to them that will empower them to be around for the long haul, to last, and to continually serve with excellence. And so we are really excited about this transition. I mean, and we've been sending emails about this stuff. And, some people are kind of nervous because, well, right now, as I'm doing this podcast, we're actually in the midst of that transition from the way we were doing things into this coaching company. And what that means is that not every coach that was on the platform with Bride Ministries before is continuing forward into the coaching company. And I'm certainly on this podcast going to take the same stand that I took at the Bride Ministries Church when I talked about it. We're not going to speak negatively about anybody that has served. And going forward, we just want those of you that follow this to know that, some of the faces are going to change. But what we're here for is to ensure that folks are able to get the help that they need. So in this transition, there will be a number of people that are no longer continuing, and that is true. And each person is going to be a different story. There's different reasons behind it. Those are individual, and you know what? It is what it is. We bless and we release those that do not continue, and we bless and embrace those that are continuing. For those that have been part of our residency program, many of them are joining the platform starting this month and into February. And so for those that we are losing, we are adding new faces. And the reality is that brideministriescoaching.com, we are going to have nearly the same number of coaches once you balance out those that we are adding with those that will be going in other directions at this juncture. So, will there be a shortage of coaches at Bride Ministries if I want to take a healing journey? Not at this time. No, we are going to be here for you. And for some of you, you guys are going to find yourself in a situation where, hey, I've been working with a coach that I found at Bride Ministries, but they're moving on. What do I do? Now, let me explain a few of the dynamics of that part of the conversation on this podcast, just so we can bring everyone on the same page. Um, we have asked that the coaches that are going to be moving on, in another direction, um, to refer their clients that booked them through the Bride Ministries website because they found Bride Ministries back to us. And obviously that referral is for a reason. And the reason why is because what we have mapped long term is that those that are connected to us are connected to us, and those that are not aren't. And for clients that have found their help through this house, through the Bride Ministries church or web presence, um, if you continue with a coach that is transitioning out of our platform, that person will no longer be under any of the governance accountability structure, or having access to any of the proprietary resources, that Bride Ministries does. It's and if you have found your help through us, we want to be able to continue to serve you here and to be able to ensure that the person that you are receiving help from is connected. And that's where the entire heart for referrals is coming from. And so, we just want to put everyone on the same page of music. If you have been working with a coach and they will be transitioning, I do recommend, please, revisit brideministriescoaching.com. And within, a week or so of the release of this podcast, we will have completed our project of redesigning a whole new landing page, making the concierge available. It'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna need help finding someone else. Just trust that very soon you will be able to get on the phone with someone, and that person will be able to connect you with a new coach that is on our platform and serving in the coach company. We are also going to be limiting in the future the availability of support groups that are being underwritten by Bride Ministries and Bride Ministries resources to those that are working with coaches that serve in the Bride Ministries coaching company. And, again, part of the reason for that is we're just working on closing loops and ensuring that those that are receiving ministry have the most solid experience possible and consistent. And so those things are in place. Now, with that said, I have taken a few minutes to introduce the new plan for growing our coaching outreach into the future. Under this plan, we are going to be adding dozens and dozens over the coming years of new coaches because of our School of Inner Healing and Deliverance. In that school, we've now moved to a 3-year program because, again, we're after excellence and we want to give people not only the best foundation, but extremely concentrated training and a mentorship with me and a robust residency experience where they get to get hours of experience with oversight and ongoing learning and community. And I believe that over the years, we are going to see that what God does here in Bride Ministries is only going to continue to set the bar at the highest level for what world-class support of survivors of satanic ritual abuse and government-sponsored mind control projects looks like. And that's what I'm committed to. I'm absolutely committed. And let me tell you something. This is a heart and a perspective that you can trust. And so with that said, I'm excited. There's a lot of good things coming forward. And if you hang out at the church, if you visit bridemovement.com, we will be marketing if you're on the ministry website mailing list. We'll be sending out an email as well. We're going to be doing a town hall in a little while. Now, this announcement won't matter if you are happening to listen to this, months down the road or whatever. But we're going to do a town hall for those that want to just ask questions of me and a few other leaders at Bride that are maybe more specific and short term, necessary to understand how to transition best. And so, with that said, I don't have anything else for you, friends. Thank you for following this podcast. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following the Bride Ministries Church. For the many of you that also hang out with us there, using our resources, we have so many. And just a brief run through of some of the resources, if you haven't checked them out, at bridemovement.com, we have prayer resources listed. We have deliverance.bridemovement.com, which is a free deliverance portal. I have a number of books. They're pretty cool. The Whole Prayers that Shake Heaven and Earth series, plus my newest one, Pummel the Devil. This guy. And, in addition to that, I mean, we have manifestspace.us, which is a whole like in-house network for people that have connected with us that are Bride Tribers and they just want to hang out, share articles, talk with each other, meet each other, whatever. Manifestspace.us. I don't, announce that regularly, but that is something that is available for you. It's been growing, and there are some unique courses that we offer there. There's just so much within the sphere of what's been built. And so check it out, hang out with us, follow us into the future, book some coaching sections at some point this year. We're here to serve. We're so excited for what the Lord is doing. Until next time, God bless and Godspeed. You've been listening to Discovering Truth with Dan Duvall. Visit me at danduvall.com, where you will discover merch, books, and the opportunity to engage in our private social network. Join the tribe by subscribing to our email list and supporting this podcast.